Good Erev Shabbos Chag Sameach. Welcome to BJC Mitzvah A, number 191, part 3. Uses Sefer Hachinuch mitzvah that keeps us on its way. Once again, today's mitzvah is entitled "The Prohibition to Reveal the Ervah of the Nakedness of One's Father's Wife, even if she is not one's mother." The sages also prohibited as a safeguard for this prohibition of one's father's wife, the wife of one's mother's father, i.e. the wife of a person's maternal grandfather alone, but not the wives of any preceding generations of one's maternal line. The reason why the sages are more stringent with the wives of paternal ancestors than with wives of maternal ancestors is because the primary manifestation of this prohibition, i.e. the biblical prohibition, that these rabbinic prohibitions are designed to safeguard is paternal, namely. It is the prohibition against relations with the wife of one's father. Therefore, the sages are more stringent with the wives of ancestors on the father's side. And they stated that wives of paternal ancestors shall be prohibited all the way up the family tree. But on the mother's side, they prohibited the wife of one's mother's father alone, but not the wives of preceding generations. This is similar to the distinction that we wrote above in the mitzvah pertaining to the prohibition of one's mother. That's 190. The remaining details of the mitzvah are set forth in the places in Talmud that we write below at the end of this parsha in mitzvah 211. All right, should we do a little more? This prohibition of one's father's wife is among the Arias prohibitions that were commanded to the entirety of mankind, both Jews and Noachites. However, despite the universal application of this prohibition, there is a distinction between how the biblical law applies to Jews and how it applies to the other nations. For regarding the other nations, a woman is called one's father's wife only on the basis of cohabitation, living together as a couple with the intent to remain so permanently. But when it comes to Jews, a woman is considered one's father's wife even through the process of Kiddushin alone, as I mentioned before, where the first stage of marriage, which looks like an engagement, was really a marriage back in those days. There also is a distinction between Jews and members of other nations in the matter of the rabbinic prohibition of shnios, and the secondary laws, as the shnios prohibitions do not apply to the other nations, as stated in the previous mitzvah. Chinuch proceeds to the details of this mitzvah's applicability to Jews. This prohibition applies in every location and all times, as far as one who transgresses this prohibition and cohabits with his father's wife, God forbid. The law is as follows. If he did so intentionally, he is at the very least liable to Korah's excision. Again, spiritually cut off, losing a child in his lifetime, God forbid, or dying under 60. And if he does so in the presence of witnesses and with prior warning, he is even subject to death through stoning. If he transgresses prohibition unintentionally, he's obligated to bring a fixed chatas offering in the era of the BJC Mitzvah, which we don't have today. We daven every day. We pray that we should get it back. And if he intentionally cohabits with one of the shnios, the wife of his grandfather, the rabbinical offenses, he incurs malchus mardos, lashes of discipline. Wow, we finished. Thanks for listening. Sponsor BJC Mitzvah 36, 100 for gold. Have a good Shabbos and a good moed. We'll see you, God willing, once the Shabbos.